Welcome to the How to Heart Show, helping men reconnect to the heart and empower others as the leaders they were born to be. I'm Vincent Hazenboom. My mission is to help you speak your truth, own your authenticity, and step into your power. The world needs the raw and authentic man right now. Join us if you're ready to make a change. Hey, what's up, Lions, and welcome to the How to Heart Show. I brought a really amazing friend of mine. He supported me in the past with dating and struggling with myself. So on this podcast, I wanted to interview Archer Avelin because he's really good with his expertise in helping men and especially in long-term relationships. So I'm really curious about Archer's story and why he wanted to become an expert on dating or helping men. So I'm really looking forward to Archer's story. So Archer, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Vincent. It's great to be here. And yeah, like my story, it started a while back. I mean, when my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, so I think I pretty much since that time I've been interested in, hey, what makes relationships work? Why do some marriages work and some don't? Fast forward to my life as an adult, I thought I had done enough research when I was younger. And when I got married, I thought, well, yeah, this is great. We used to always, say, oh, divorce is never an option. But one day back in I think it was September of 2011, just out of the blue, we were in our kitchen at the time, and my wife comes up to me and says, I don't love you anymore. At that point, I was like, wow, this is really shocking. And I tried to do all the things that I could to try to fix things. And really it didn't work. About 3 months later, she left. She moved out, and she took a portion of my daughter's time with her. So that was really challenging. I was in shock for quite a while, and I started doing deeper research. I started going beyond like the mainstream narratives and started to search into like spiritual sources, and also going back and looking at the ancient traditions from our collective religious upbringings. I kind of came to the conclusion that there's a lot of things about my own relationship that I would have done differently, and I would have made a different choice as far as like who I decided to marry, knowing now what I know. I guess fast forward to pickup, dating, the seduction community. There's a lot of stuff that's being taught that I think is helpful for short term results. The problem is that most of the gambits, so to speak, or like the seduction methods for long term, they will often land people in hot water. Like take for example, what's his face, the guy that wrote the game,
Neil
Neil.
Strauss.
Yeah, Neil Strauss. I don't think it was too long after he'd gotten married, he wound up having an outside affair with some other woman, and him and his wife wound up going to a Harville Hendricks seminar, to try to work and fix their marriage. I guess I kind of see my ideas, my thoughts, and my tips on this whole thing is being more rudimentary and maybe more tied into, I guess, universal truth. I think a lot of people get wigged out by universal truth because it maybe holds them to a higher standard, or they think that it's going to somehow limit their freedom. But I think if more people can develop more discipline their sexuality, I think we're going to have much better relationships, much better marriages, if you will. Because I kind of really see like that's kind of my life's mission, is to save and improve the institution of marriage. Like my first two books have been on that topic. The first one, The Sex Education You Never Received, is for single people. And then the second one, The Sacred Bedroom, yeah, that's for married people. So I look at it though as I think people really need to realize that they don't have to be controlled by their hormones. They can overcome that force that they can get control of their sex force. I guess kind of to some degree what I'm teaching people, teaching guys in particular, is like I'm teaching them brahmacharya. A lot of people get weirded out by that too because they think, oh, it means I have to be a celibate monk for all of my life. Well, no, it doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean though is that you get control of your sex force and you use it consciously. You don't like just run out there and continue to have all of these sexual escapades with all these different women. And there are guys out there that do that, and there are guys within the dating community or within the manosphere, if you will, that they do keep track of their body count and how many, what their lay count is and stuff like that. But really, what these guys are doing is they're just, kind of using their penis and the woman's vagina and all the other attached parts is basically like drug delivery systems. So I guess that's kind of my main message to guys is like, look at you can get control of your sex force. You don't have to like just run and try to find some woman to hook up with. You don't have to like prove yourself in that way. There's really nothing that's that important about having conquering a bunch of different women. Now on the other hand, I realize that there are guys that maybe are petrified of women, and they think,
Yeah,
oh
like
man,
me.
yeah. So there are pearls of wisdom, and there is value within what the game and seduction community is offering. But I feel like what they're doing is they're saying, hey, become the best man that you can be so that you can get really attractive to women. I think that's a little bit of an oxymoron, because really the core thing is to get to become who you are, to become fully integrated, to become and realize your higher self. Eventually a woman's going to jump onto your ship and say, hey, I want to ride on, I want to be part of this adventure that you're creating, right? That's really, I think, what I'm trying to help guys realize is that it's you and your mission, and you have to keep that mission in your mind and keep working on that mission every day. Seeing a woman coming along as a helper to help you with that. The mistakes that I made when I was married, or when I was sharing a house with my first wife, I was totally what they call blue pill. I thought, well, 50-50, everything's 50-50. She works, I work, my daughter goes to daycare. Man, if I could rewind and go back, I mean, it would have been my career straightforward, 100%. I would have said, hey, you can work if you want to, but my mission is to like get you home from being in the workforce. I kind of joke, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but like I see in all the fairy tales that we all had as kids, what was the thing that they're always talking about? Like the guy, the knight in shining armor, right?
Yeah.
And he goes to save the princess. And why does he have to save the princess? Because his princess is in the dragon's lair, or she's trapped in a tower. It's guarded by a dragon, and this guy is a mean son of a gun. He's gonna rip your ass up if you. So he's got to go and fight this leviathan, this creature, whatever, this monster, and get rid of that monster to save her. Well, I really think that monster, that dragon, that's corporate America. That is corporate America, especially here. I mean, it's the same in Western Europe as it is in America, Australia. I mean, so Britain. So much of, like, I guess the English speaking world is, it's all about, it's kind of like collective slavery. And if you go, I feel if you go and have a job with a corporation, in a way you've kind of sold your soul to that. But back when I was together with my first wife, I thought that was cool for her to do that. But knowing what I know now, I would have tried to get her out of that as quickly as possible, and I would have been a lot more internalized about my own struggles. Like I don't think I would have shared as much stuff with her. I would have said, oh, if she said, hey, you seem a little down or whatever, I would have said, hey, I'm just going through some stuff at work. It's nothing to worry about. I can handle it. That idea of being internalized or sharing my troubles and challenges with other men out there that I think that I had thought were safe and that could have provided some value to me. I think that is what I should have done. But I didn't know that. I thought, well, I can share every bit of myself with my wife and be 100% vulnerable. The problem with doing that, I think, is that depending on the moral fiber of whoever you decide to marry, I think it's tough for women because it kind of kills their attraction. I think
Yeah.
you have to be sort of the stoic captain, in amidst the storms of life. Women, there's this old song by Cyndi Lauper called Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And there's a lot of reality to that. I mean, girls do want to have fun. Let's be honest, life is not always fun. As a man, you need to have this concept of, my wife is there to help me with things, and she's there to like raise my kids, and she's there to, provide some sexual release. I suppose we can talk about how much sexual release you need, but and then the idea that she's there as a friend, for there to be friendship, but there still has to be something that you hold behind your vest or something. There are cards that I think that you need to keep to yourself and not show them. And I think the more as a man you can develop your earning potential and your ability to solve problems of all kinds, whether it's financial or physical or spiritual, the more you're able to do that, the more your value will go up over time. And in general, I think women, and your wife in particular, when you decide to take one, is going to find you, really awesome, and really be to feel. I think she will really feel lucky that you are in her life and that you're there to guide her, so to speak, and be her leader. I think that's really what men are supposed to do. Men are like the navigating sea captain, like they're the banks of the river, and women are the river. Women are all about flow and this and that, and they're much more feeling than we are insensitive compared to women, and that's a good thing. If a man is like overly, I think, in touch with his feelings, I think it can be a real challenge, because there are a lot of times in life where you're going to have feelings and you just kind of have to boom move through them anyway. You have to do what needs to be done in order to, I guess, accomplish the mission or to be able to complete the task. I think women in general they want a man who's more able to do that. Women that expect men to be like a hairy woman, to have all the same sensitivities that a woman has, that's an improper wish or desire. Because I think what happens is when men become overly feeling like women do, then she's just going to see him as another woman and be repulsed by that. It's like us as men, like I go to the gym, and there are some girls that you see in the gym that they have bought hook, line, and sinker into this concept of, be a strong woman, be empowered. Or what's it? Strong is the new pretty. I think that was one of the taglines going around a year or two ago. These girls, they're working on getting like as physically strong as men, and they're like, building their bodies, and they're throwing their femininity out the window. And I don't know, like, I don't know what their motivations are, but if their motivations are to like have a relationship and to be happy in a relationship with a man, they're going about it all the wrong way. So
Yeah, the thing that you explained, I when I was listening to, I hear a lot of things about myself, and especially in the relationship aspect. So if we can go back, and I want to dive a bit more about the men and women and the pickup later, but what went through you when your wife said like, "Hey Archer, it's been fun. I'm gonna leave you." How did you deal with it, and how did you get out of it?
Yeah, I was certainly in a state of shock. You know, at the time, I wasn't in great shape physically. I was probably like 50 pounds overweight. I did not like my job at all. I was in corporate America, in banking, in the mortgage industry. At the time when she left, I mean, yeah, it was super challenging for me. I mean, it was really just kind of literally in a state of shock. Going to bed in shock and kind of like waking up in shock and just kind
Yeah.
of being like, hmm, this is, this is hard. And it really is hard because you are learning when you go through a divorce as a man, you have to learn how to start to take care of yourself. You have to learn to, take care of a lot of things that you wouldn't have had to have taken care of before. I guess, for me, that wasn't like super terrible. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say that my cooking has probably gotten better since then, but I still am not like a big fan of cooking. Like I would much rather eat something than cook it. But you develop into things, and you learn how to start taking care of yourself, clean up after yourself, and
Mhm.
realize that you can be autonomous. And I think that that is kind of one of the things that I picked up from going through that experience is that I can be fine by myself, and I'm not going to settle in order just to be in a relationship. And I think a lot of young men today, I think they have a scarcity mindset when it comes to women. And I think when they get their first woman, like they find the first woman that sleeps with them, they get really attached to that one woman. Right. She is the holy grail. And I suppose I'm being a little bit of a devil's advocate here, but I mean that is maybe one of the good things that game or pickup gives you is this concept that there's an abundance. There's a women are like waves. There's always going to be another wave. I think something that's helpful for a guy is to realize that, hey, regardless of what happens in my outside conditions, I'm still okay. If I'm a pauper, digging a ditch in the rain, in the sleet and the snow, I'm still okay. It's like, if you've got faith, if you believe in God, God still loves me. I'm all right. Yeah, this might be challenging, but it's all right. I still like myself. I know what I'm here to do, right?
Mhm.
That's helpful. So then the other thing that I realized too is that, hey, this marriage that I was in, it wasn't really that great.
A lot of self-reflection.
Right. I mean, again, it goes back to, could I have somehow got the red pill before I had even met my wife? I don't know if that would have changed a lot of things, but it certainly would have. And I think, like I said, been a lot more serious about my career. I wouldn't have let things be 50-50. So yeah, I mean, there's this other idea too, and this has been going around. I've been hearing a lot of this lately on a lot of the short videos out there. They're talking about, oh, how 90% of all divorces are filed by college educated women. The higher, more educated a woman is, the higher the probability is that she's going to have a divorce. I have no idea. I haven't done enough research yet. I've just been hearing this from other people. I haven't done my own primary research to like read whatever scientific or publication put out this study, right? I met my first wife in grad school. That plus money, I think there's somehow like almost like an evening that happens. So much of what guys think that they think they have to have be 6 feet tall, they have to be have six pack abs, and then or 6 feet tall or higher, six pack abs, and then six-figure income, right? If they've got all of those, then that's it. That's the bee's knees. They're going to have women chasing them down left and right. Yeah, those things are attractive, but I think that the main thing, the main game, you need game. You need to understand what dynamics are happening. You need to understand, like, when a woman does this, this is what she's really doing, or this is why this is happening. And you need to have your masculine frame. And if a woman is disrespecting you, you stop her. You say, whoa, whoa, whoa. What you're saying right now sounds really disrespectful to me. And if she's your wife, you say, did I say something unloving to you? Like, what's going on, and see what she says, and not be afraid to like take all of the brunt of her fear, pain, suffering, whatever it is at the moment, to be that breaker when, there's 10-meter seas out there, right? And to be able to say, boom, oh, okay, there's another wave, there's a wave, I can handle that, right? That's a real challenge for a lot of men, especially if you've grown up in a maybe dysfunctional background, or your parents were divorced, or maybe you didn't even know your father. Heaven forbid, you have no idea what that dynamic is like. It was a really challenging time to go through the divorce that I went through, but it has made me much better. I'm in great physical shape. I know that, if I want to, start a second family, I can do that. It's just a lot of people, talk about the red pill and the blue pill, and like, oh, marriage is blue pill. What other alternative is there? I think, yeah, you can. I think there's the red pill. You take the red pill. Everybody starts off with the blue pill because that's how society's set up. Society wants blue pill because it keeps everything kind of balanced, right? I guess brave enough, wise enough, whatever. You take the red pill and you get angry and you go through and you fight the matrix and whatever. And then I think if you step back from that, you say, okay, thank you, red pill, and you set it down or you pass it, so to speak. Then you're left with the purple pill. What is purple? Purple signifies royalty. You're a king at that point. You're fine with yourself. If your kingdom falls in the ocean, well, that's rough. We're gonna have to rebuild. We're gonna have to set up another kingdom. Throw yourself, take a woman and put her on a pedestal and say, oh, she's my number one, and everything revolves around her. Happy wife, happy life. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to say, hey, I'm the captain of this ship. This is SS, 325 Chestnut Street, or wherever you live. Maybe you are on the ocean. Maybe you do have a ship. Maybe, yeah, who knows where you are, what you're doing. But if there's like a certain amount of space that you consider your kingdom, you are the authority of that kingdom, whether it's, 1,500 square feet, whether it's 3,000 square feet, whether it's, 190 acres, whatever it is, whatever your little kingdom is, you are the commander, the leader of that kingdom, and you, right or wrong, you take everything that you have, and you're the leader. So, if you have a wife, yeah, of course you take her input, you take her opinions into consideration, but you're still leading. You're always leading. If she's likes what you're doing, great. If she doesn't, then maybe you can fix it. But ultimately, you take the brunt. If there's a decision that you make that doesn't go well, we made a mistake there. You're not going to grovel and say, oh, I'm so sorry, this is terrible, oh, I'm such a, no, it's just, well, we made a mistake there, we learned something, let's move on. Or hey, don't even call it a mistake. Well, we're getting some feedback there that we didn't expect. Well, we're going to have to change and go in this direction, right?
That was for me also the same. Once I had the breakup, I got in contact with you and I told my story, and I was exactly the same way as most guys in the breakup, like, ah, it's my fault. What did I do wrong? And then I started to blame her. But eventually, when time came, put a mirror in front of me. It's like, hey,
Right,
it was me. I also caused the problem in the relationship because I saw the red flags. I saw it didn't go well, but because of scarcity, I stay
right,
with her because it was like, okay, if I leave her, then I need to start dating again. Then I need to
right,
build connection with a woman again. And that's what men so afraid of. They rather stay in a toxic relationship than meet
right,
another woman that's really nurturing, that's really caring,
right,
and really care about you instead of caring only about herself. So about what you explained here, that's so important that you also start to go into your masculine and stand your ground, even though if it's women or men, it doesn't matter. You also have to
right,
stand your ground and
right,
not be picked on because, like you explained, women, she's gonna sense if she's taking care of a boy or having a man her in her
right,
life. And
exactly,
a lot of men are boys because
right,
they're scared to grow up. So that was so crucial. So what you've explained so crucial for me also, like seeing those patterns how can I change? What can I do about it? And this starts with yourself. And it took a long time for me to accept and see that for myself. So I think that was also for you as well. That was the acceptance, like, hey, it was also me, the reason that she left or something else. So it starts with yourself. And I feel like that's so important for men to understand that it in a relationship you do both, but if something is wrong, it usually is something with you because you might change direction or you start losing your purpose or you're behaving different, and she's gonna notice, she's gonna see it, and
Right.
then she's gonna test you like, hey, who is this guy? Is he still the same guy as I met before? So
Right.
it's what you said, you have to learn the dynamics of the men and women. And I think that's a good topic to jump on for the relationships. For men that hearing this and they're struggling with the relationship, what can they do about it? What can advice can you give on your expertise?
Yeah, a good question. So, if you are struggling in your relationship, if you feel like you're not, well, I mean, one of the bellwether tests is, are you getting respect?
Hmm.
Are you getting respect in the relationship, or is she disrespecting you, saying things that aren't respectful? Like, for example, like if she, I think one of the main things a woman can do to upset a man is to like question his earning potential, right? That's always, that's like a guy saying, "Oh, you're really not very pretty, are you?" Say what you will about our society, men are judged on their money, their earning potential. Women are judged on their attractiveness.
Hmm.
Sorry, that's the way things are. So, if you're in like kind of that dynamic, you have to think to yourself, okay, how can I start taking control of this relationship? Like, let's just talk about a marriage, because I really think, that's really the main relationship to be concerned about. Although I know a lot of people do sort of take I call it the European route, where they get together, like they cohabitate for 6 7 years. They've got two kids, and then they say, "Oh, let's get married now." I like the idea of, like, you get together, you're friends, you've got a courtship. Say you're together for a year, you guys really work on the friendship, the communication aspect, and then boom, yeah, you get married, and then you have sex for the first time, you consummate the marriage, right? And that sounds like torture to a lot of guys, because they think, "Oh man, I'm never going to get laid." Well, yeah, you will when you get married, and you have plenty of time to do it at that point. And then it's going to be better because you're going to be doing it with a woman who's your best friend. Like you've got a real soul connection with. But yeah, so say you're in a marriage, you're not getting the respect that you need. Start demanding respect. So if she says something disrespectful to you, you say, "Hey, that's really disrespectful. Why are you saying that?" Or like, did I say something unloving? Like, what's going on with you? And you really sort of stand your ground. You listen to her. You try to elicit the feelings from her. You're not afraid of her feelings, regardless of what they are. They can be all over the place with women, because women don't compartmentalize their mind. It's just everything flows together. Men compartmentalize stuff. We can go on and, like, you know have one interaction and not think about everything else. It's got to be that way. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen in the world. That's it. First, demand respect, and, give her unconditional love, and realize that she's going to make mistakes, and you got to coach her back into being in a respectful position. If this is a dynamic that's never happened in the relationship before, she might kind of fight against it, regardless of what she says. It's never really what a woman says anyway, it's what she does. So it's real key to have, to demand that unconditional respect from the woman in your life. The other thing too is, like, what do you really love about yourself as a man? Like what hobbies do you like? What kind of relationships did you have with other guys? Your brothers, your friends, your guy friends, I use brothers in a collective or a more general sense, but, like, what did you guys like to do? And no, hopefully it wasn't just play Call of Duty till 4 in the morning. That's a totally another topic. But, like, let's say you used to like to mountain bike, or let's say you used to like to, maybe you like to do rock climbing, or you just like to go out and ride your bike. Whatever it was that you used to like to do, what hobby you used to have, if you don't still have that hobby, you should get back into that hobby. Create some friendships with other men. Find men that are not toxic, guys that don't think drinking more beer, banging more chicks, military conquests. Find guys that are maybe fully integrated. Who knows? Maybe there's parts of you that you need to improve. Maybe you struggle with your money making potential. Maybe you could go find some guys that are really good about making money. Whatever it is, like, get some positive guys in your life and start to do things separate from your relationship. The other thing too that I think is a good test to a relationship is, like, if you're not having sex, start having sex. If you seem to be having a fair amount of sex, stop having sex. Try to let the kettle boil up a little bit.
Make it
So
spicy.
yeah, to make it spicy. I mean, in a marriage, I don't really know per se. I mean, I talk about this in my second book, in the Sacred Bedroom. There's this idea of morning and evening prayers. This idea that you can have sex every day, but you're not having an orgasm. Like, it's a different sort of sex. So you can have that sort of relationship. But I think, maybe if it's a more conventional type of sexual relationship between you and your wife, I don't know. I think once or twice a week is a decent amount of sex to be having. I talk about this in my second book as well. Like, you can have sex without having, an ejaculation. You can practice what I call the immortalizer technique, and you can have an orgasm, but you don't ejaculate. It's a great technique to use because it really does reduce the amount of semen loss that you have. And I think that's one of the big challenges that a lot of men have in their marriages, is that they don't know to conserve their semen, and they let it out all the time, once, twice a week, 3 times a week, who knows. So collectively, this is generally why men kick the bucket faster than women do, because they're losing themselves, their vital essence, a lot more than women do. I mean, women lose their vital essence, once every 28 days until they hit menopause, and then they stop doing that. A lot of women don't want to go through menopause because it sucks. You have that change, but in a lot of ways, it's a blessing because they don't continue to bleed out and lose their, a little piece of themselves through their blood, every 28 days. And again, I talk about this in my second book, that women can take control of their period. There's an exercise that they can do to turn off their period. They can basically control it, turn it off and leave it off until they're ready to have a kid, and then they turn it on. They stop doing the exercise, and then the period returns. They get pregnant, and then after the baby's born and weaned, then they can go back and practice that technique again. And the benefit there is that women, they stay looking youthful for longer. And a lot of
Hmm.
these women are running around today, doing their Botox and doing all this shabazz to try to continue to look youthful, when in reality, that all they need to do is just to turn off their period so that they're not bleeding out. I shouldn't use the term bleeding out, but that they're not bleeding, they're not losing however much blood that they lose during their period. So, but yeah, I think those are some basic things that a guy can do to improve their relationship. And I think the other thing too is just realizing that if you're a man, you have to be a leader. So I think one of the things that a lot of men do is, like, they get complacent about things. Like, they'll say, "Oh, my wife keeps my schedule." It's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing on this night?" "Oh, let me check with my wife." "Well, what do you mean check with your wife? Like, can you go or can you not? You should know what your schedule is, buddy. Don't, like, rely
Yeah.
on your wife to like keep your schedule. It's like, grow up, bro. We've got these phones, right? It's real simple. You go in, you click the time, you put it in there, you give yourself a reminder. That's one thing. The other thing too is, like, just something like a real simple example. Like, if it's Friday night, you've had a long week, you want to go out and have some fun. You don't go to your wife or your girlfriend. You don't go and say, "Hey, what do you feel like doing tonight?" "Oh, I don't know." "Yeah, what do you want to do?" No, because what you're doing when you ask that question, you're putting all of the thought making, planning, decision making, object oriented stuff into her ball court. And it's not for her to decide. What you say is you come up with a plan and say, hey, I'm thinking, you know what? We should go down to Philippi's or whatever, and we should get some Greek food tonight. I haven't had Greek food in a long time. I think that would be wonderful. How do you feel about that? Oh, it's super funny. Believe it or not, we had Greek food today at the office or whatever, right? And oh, well, why don't we go down and have some Chinese then? There's a new Chinese place down on Market Street. Let's go check that place out. She's like, oh yeah, okay, let's go do that. So, you're planning, you've got plans, you maybe have some alternate plans, but again, you're directing things and just checking with her to see if she feels good about
Yeah,
it.
that's really
I think
important.
it's really important. And
Yeah.
I've seen relationships where the guy has given like all of his masculine power over to
Hmm.
her. Women do not want that. They don't want that at all.
No.
Like, I know one, I know one relationship that was worse than 50-50. It was like he was a stay-at-home dad and she, worked in the IT industry, made really good money. Like you go and you look at them now, I mean, they're still together, but it's I wouldn't consider it a great relationship. Their faith helped them keep the marriage together, but like, I look at her and I look at what corporate America has done to her over the years. When she was in her youth, she was really attractive. Now, I mean, you look at her and she's just like, and this is what corporate America does to all women. So this is another thing too. Like if you're a man, like you really, really need to work on making it so that she doesn't have to work. Like if she wants to work, or like there's something like she's really got a burning desire to work, she can work. And there are parts of society that are feminine based. I mean, we need nurses, cooks, chefs, waitresses. Those are wonderful, right? I mean, it's important for women to have that and do that if they want to do it. Or if there's like some sort of like teaching, women make wonderful teachers as well. So there are parts of society that women are generally going to want to do. And I think if left to their devices and there's no like external pressures or manipulations or propaganda to try to sway people's decision making process, most women are generally going to go to supportive, nurturing sort of roles. Men are going to go towards, construction. They're going to go towards, business. Like there's a lot of things that guys can do like that are more masculine, right? Protection, military sort of stuff, what have you. I think it's really important as a man to be able to have it so that she doesn't have to work, or to be able to have a household and be able to keep the household, to pay the bills so she doesn't have to monkey with that stuff, and to really like take on as much responsibility as you can take on, keep her from having to go into that masculine side so that she can stay feminine and be nurturing to the kids, and take care of the kids and not feel like she's got to go to work, do some crap based job that she doesn't really want to do, and then come back home and not only take care of her kids, but she's also got to feels like she's got to take care of her husband too, because he's just another kid as well. So I think it might sound scary for some guys, especially guys that maybe have just been raised on, the PS4 mentality of, just you can put in a video game and try to earn rewards and do things that way, versus the reality that life is the game. Life is the game.
Yeah.
Play the game of life. Don't get caught into games within the game. And that's very much what video games are. And I put out a short video on that recently, and I put it on TikTok, and dude, that went up a lot of guys' ass sideways, because it's telling them, look, dude, your life is a joke. Yeah, you might think it's wonderful to go, to have some awesome killing winning streak, in Call of Duty, but dude, once you turn off the console, what do you have? Like, one of the guys was like, well, what if you've got a crocheting habit and you come home at night and you crochet? I'm like, bro, that is an apples and oranges comparison. Number one, if you got a crocheting habit, at least when you're done with your crocheting job, you maybe have like an Afghan, a blanket, a scarf, a hat, something. You've got something physical in the real world that has value to somebody. What do you have from like all your hours of video games? Maybe you've got a reticle that's like in your after vision when you close your eyes to go to sleep at night.
And next
Um,
unlocked weapon.
right, you got the next unlock weapon. You've got like
Well,
it's they're designed to suck you in.
yeah, it
I could
is.
say roughly the same thing about television, but at least with television programs, they have a beginning and an end. They give you the opportunity to say, let's turn this off. I mean, games is just like grabs that reward circuit and just pulls you in and pulls you in and pulls you in. So, there's so much that's there to distract us. And I get the idea of, video games. I mean, they are fun. The problem is that they really do get your brain to put out these neurotransmitters that you normally wouldn't put out unless maybe you were snorting cocaine or snorting cocaine or something like that. So like these things are really addictive. They're just naturally addictive. So I really recommend that guys like take these things and get rid of them and start to play the game of life. Like you can work on your body. You can make your body like super muscular, like these guys that you see in the video games. Play the game of commerce. You can figure out ways to create value in the world and earn a living from doing that. You can look at the numbers in your dollar or the dollars or the whatever you have, whatever your denomination of value is in your bank account, and say, okay, I've got this. Now I can do this and do that. That can be more of your game than something that is just basically a waste of your human energy and a waste of electricity.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, we can talk about this for hours and hours and hours about video games. And I've been there as well. I've been a massive gamer, so
Same.
I know you. I spent hours and hours that I can never have back ever. And yeah, it's a waste. It's a really waste of time. It's a waste of energy that you can put on working on yourself, like say work on your body, work on your
Right.
business, working your skills development with the
Yep.
things that you want to do. So that's
Yep.
also really important of letting that go. What is more important? Is it more important to have a video game session with your mates every night, or is more important to go to the gym or start
Right.
eating healthy or
Right.
creating better habits for yourself or for your family? So that's
Absolutely. And
also, yeah, it's so important for you to see that because it's so easy to get sucked into the video game because it's safe, it's easy. You don't
yeah.
have to have any responsibilities in that moment, but once you turn off the push button, your life is back, so you need to do it again.
Right.
And it's gonna
Right.
pile up more. You're gonna be more frustrated because your girlfriend is complaining
Yeah.
or your wife is complaining because you don't want to take on the responsibility. And
Right.
I've been there as well. So I know thrown away my responsibilities, but it's gonna catch up to you. It's like, hey, life is gonna be like, hey, Vincent, wake up. You have to do something now.
Right.
Do it now. So
Right.
it's gonna catch up to you. So it was really interesting the things that you've explained, but I think it's a really important topic that we can talk for a little bit and also about the pickup for a little bit is there's a lot of confusion right now. You see it in society that's pushed onto us like the man and women dynamics, the masculine and the feminine. How what do you see from now that's happening, especially now with the men and women? The man needs to be women, the women needs to be men, and they're all trying to put you in a box, not like, hey,
Right.
I'm a masculine man or I'm a proud woman. It's all pushing in boxes. So can you explain more about what you see in your point of view with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a small group of people, very powerful people. Shouldn't even call them people, just individuals that I think do benefit from there being a lot of gender confusion.
Hmm.
I recently read this book called Word Magic. I forget the author's name, but in it, he brought up this concept that English, the English language, is the language of slaves. If you think about that idea, there is some validity to that, because what language is the most popular language on earth right now? It's English, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's universal.
it's universal. People say it's pretty easy to learn. It doesn't have any gender. It's genderless. Like, it's
Hmm.
a neuter language. So if I say the cat, it's always the cat. It's never la gato or el gato, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I think that in and of itself maybe kind of has a little bit of a kernel of nugget of wisdom, like why there is such gender confusion. And I think also too, because, if you have a corporation, you just want bodies in there to run the corporation. If we went back, 70 years in America, I would say most households were probably just dad works and mom stays at home. Back then, it was easier to do because the US dollar had a lot more buying power. You could get a lot more done with one income than you can today. I mean, today it's like, there's been studies that says the US dollar has like dwindled by four times in value. It's almost a joke when you go into the grocery store today. It's like two for $11. Like I was walking through the chip aisle and it's like two for $11. Wow, what a bargain. So that means what? I gotta pay what, 550? I get one of these, like I get two of them for 550 as opposed to paying what, $7 for it or something. It's really it's getting comical. That kind of concept of, if I can take away, if I can take, let's just say Vincent, if I can take Vincent and if I can help him forget about his family, forget about his masculinity, forget about any sort of faith that he might have, guess what? We can stick ourselves in that place and we can become everything to him, and he's ours. He's our
Hmm.
slave. Like, that's the concept. That's what's going on today. I go to a gym. It's a corporate gym. I think it's a franchise, and there's a guy that owns it, and he's got a woman as the manager, and she does a good job at what she does. I can see in her that she might want something more. I think if I was to go up to her, just for example, and say, "Hey, I've been working quite a bit, and I've got a fairly, I've got really good income. So I tell you what, if you were interested and we seem to hit it off, you could stop working." I bet you she would say, there would be a part of her immediately that would say, "Oh, wow, really?" There's so many people today that they've been programmed to think that, hey, to be a strong woman. So what does it mean? Like, what does it mean to be masculine? So, and what does it mean to be feminine? So, like, the highest expression for a man is freedom.
Hmm.
Men want freedom. That's their highest expression. The highest expression for women is love. They want to be loved. They want to experience love. They want to love, right?
I feel safe.
Yeah, and feel safe. You can kind of see where love and freedom, there's a little bit of dichotomy between the two, right? Because if you
Hmm.
give somebody a full and 100% freedom, are they gonna abuse that freedom? Are they gonna, if you're a woman, you say, "Boy, I really want him to be as free as he wants to be." Is he gonna be so free that he runs around and sleeps with 15 other women? Or is he going to use his freedom to create resources for our family and, to provide for me and protect me? Whereas a woman, like, love is great, right? But what kind of love is it? Is it like this love of, you're mine and you can't go anywhere because I love you so much and I'm going to hold you and love you and I'm just going to, oh, it's going to be awesome. What was that Stephen King novel, like, where she breaks the guy's legs so like he can't get
Misery.
away? Right, Misery, right? She
Yeah.
loves him so much she's just gonna, saw his legs off at the kneecaps, right? Um, no, that, like, we don't want that either. So I mean, like, there has to be, a balance between the two, and like righteousness kind of comes in there, to sound like somewhat religious. It's like, I think, there's love, there's freedom, and then there's righteousness. Like, where does righteousness come from? Like, we have these religious upbringings that teach us what's right and what's wrong. We've got the Ten Commandments. If you're a yogi, you've got the yamas and the niyamas. There's a preset code of things to do and ways to operate and ways to behave. to sort of make things work. But women, for women, it's like, what can we do? It's like community based things, right? Connection, social things. For men, it's like it's individual things. It's being the captain and planning and execution. So again, it's like this idea of men are the containers for women. If you think, you got a glass, an empty glass, you pour the water in, that's the woman. She's the woman there. The man is here on the outside. He's providing shelter, protection. He's providing like boundaries, so that the water doesn't everywhere. I suppose if you wobble the glass a little bit, then you wobble the water inside of it. But I think the stronger the glass is, the more it can withstand other things, and the less vibration happens for the woman on the inside. If a man can do nothing but at least work on his money and his muscles, that's a good start. But you have to
Yeah,
kind of you have to, I think, kind of go beyond that and realize how the feminine operates,
yeah.
and how to contain it in a loving and devoted way, to kind of coach it back into loving submission. And by submission, I don't mean like, beat down or anything like that. I just mean like, it says, okay, well, I'm second in command, you're first in command. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I think like that's the important dynamic between the masculine and the feminine. But like 50-50, 50-50, as far as like half of the population is women, half of the population is men, sure. But like if you're in a relationship and it's, she's providing 50% and you're providing 50%, no. I think in a lot of cases that creates women that, kind of become these muffin tops. I look at my first wife, it's been probably 10 years since we've been apart. And I look at her now, she's still in the corporate world. She's still, working for the good old military industrial complex. She doesn't look that great. She's overweight. I think that it's her making that choice to divorce and to leave. I think that was her own undoing. And I see it with a lot of women. They think, oh, I've got all this stuff going on. I can make it on my own. And they go out and they try to do it on their own. And it's an absolute train wreck, in a lot of cases. Or marriages where, again, it's like a 50-50 thing, and the woman works too. Women, they wind up kind of becoming men. They kind of wind up becoming inferior men.
Yeah, I
So I
wanted
think,
to cut on with this because this is really important because men or women are being programmed as men. They need to be self-sufficient. So what happens if a woman is self-sufficient? She doesn't need a man. She can provide for herself. So she's like, oh, there's a man talking to her. It's like, oh, I don't need this guy. I can provide myself. But in the other way around, man is like, okay, I'm afraid of women. I'm gonna go to porn or I'm gonna go to a
right,
sex worker. So there's no balance anymore. The dynamic of men and women is fading away. We're being separated
right,
instead of working together as one, as
right,
men and women. Because like you explained, men, they have the leadership, they have the ability to provide and protect. But women cannot do that on their own. She can be with friends, with her girlfriends, but still it's not right. It's good to have girlfriends and all that, but still there's no balance. There's the dynamics of men and women is gone. So
right.
that's why it's also for me so important to tell you this, or to the listeners, is to really learn to be in balance with your core essence, who you are. If you're a man, you're a core masculine male. If you're feminine, you have your feminine qualities, and you have a masculine and a feminine in a balance. It's all inside of you, but because of societies want to take us apart, there's no more balance. And I can really see that, especially with the younger generation now. They're lost, they're on the phone. When they see a girl they want to talk to, they're afraid because they fear rejection. So all of that. So what you explained, it's so important for you to understand or to learn that we need each other. We need the
Yeah,
men and the women. It's been going on this for thousands of years. If not, you
right,
wouldn't be born. So
right,
it's really important, like what Archer says, step into your masculine power, and also to see women not as a sex object, to see them as their feminine, to see them
Right.
as lovely beings that you can have fun with, but also to really spar, just mold like the yin and yang with the
Right.
masculine and feminine. And that's the beauty of in a relationship. If you can just collide with each other and have fun, you see the relationship is going to be a lot more fun. Because what I saw in my own relationship was there was a lot of, I was so in my feminine and she was so in the masculine. We just
Right.
collide because I wasn't in my masculine. I wasn't leading, I wasn't taking decisions. I was giving all of my power away. So she's confused because she's like, okay, now I need to be in my masculine as well, and I need to take care of you. And then the relationship's falling apart,
Right.
and yeah, there's no fixing it because there's a lot of problems, and you can talk about it, but still, if you act like a boy or you're not in your masculine, it doesn't matter what you say. She's gonna act on her gut feeling. She knows, she feels it. Yeah, what Archer explains, it's really on yeah, spot on, and I've seen it with myself now the last couple of months that I have to learn to be my masculine. And once you do that, she's gonna relax in her feminine, and she's gonna enjoy the ride. She's gonna enjoy you taking the lead. She's gonna enjoy following you. And if she doesn't agree, she will tell you like, hey, maybe try something else, but she will give it, but she's not like taking the lead. She's gonna give you the
Right.
power. If she's really in in her feminine, she's gonna give the power to you and say,
Right.
"Hey, you can lead." And that's the beauty of it. What I see as men and women to have that perfect balance. Still, you have yeah, imperfections, but that's the perfect balance, the yin and yang.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I think there are a lot of men today that are they don't have any motivation at all. Like they've got these two prongs that are in them. One is video games, the other one is porn. And
Yeah,
it totally evaporates all of their masculine instinct. Their body hormones are out of whack. They're not taking any exercise. They're living sedentary lifestyles. They're going and eating foods of commerce, things that are in a can or in a box, sucked of their life essence. They're eating crap, and they're getting all this garbage into them. They're kind of checking out. So like, yeah, and then you've got these women that are being exploited by corporate America. They're being strong and like, oh, you're so brave. One of the concepts I think when a woman goes through a divorce, it's like, oh, you're so brave. You made a covenant. You went into like a covenant relationship. Well, you probably didn't know it was a covenant, but like you went into this relationship that was supposed to be a lifetime relationship, and you're tapping out of it thinking that you can trade up and get a better man than what you had before. It's a real travesty in a lot of cases, I think, because so many of divorces are filed by women. It's sad because I don't necessarily. I think one of the red pill faux pas is like they're always like, oh, it's always women. It's women. It's their fault, right? The problem is that women are primarily feeling, and they will make decisions, lifetime decisions, based on what they feel in that moment. So if they feel like crap, they're going to say, I got to get away from this. Boom, this is done. So they make that decision and they turn away from it permanently. Like I said, from what I've observed in a lot of cases, divorce, it's no panacea. And most of these women wind up, I think, regretting it. Some of them, I think a lot of them won't admit it because of pride. I think it is a terrible, terrible mistake for a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, it's really important for men
yeah,
to
absolutely.
to be the leaders. I
Yeah,
think the more men are leaders through everything, through thick and thin, I think the better, the easier it's going to be. And at the
yeah,
same token, I think women need to learn that men do have feelings, but that's not their primary mode of operation. Men have fears and things that they have to overcome as well. The more that women can realize that marriage is a covenant, in that it really is a lifetime relationship. And God is part of that covenant, stand by their men in all situations,
Yeah,
and realize that the more loyal they can be, the more benefits they're gonna get from it.
absolutely. It's really important also to, if you see your man struggling, that you provide for him also, like, hey, I'm here for you. Not like hold him like, oh, it's gonna be
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
baby, but
Right,
know that you're there to support
right,
him, and he's gonna take care of it, but not be him nurturing like a child, like, hey, it's gonna be okay, and brush him on his head like,
right,
hey, you're a good old boy. It's also
right,
important to know for I think for me it's important for me, if I'm in a relationship, that the woman has my back. If I really go down in a tough road, that she can talk to me and I can talk to her, and that you can talk to it. But then I'm gonna take my leadership, I'm gonna take my role as a man, and I'm gonna go forward again. And she can go back into her feminine and do her own thing. So I think it's,
right.
yeah, you have to figure that out in your relationship when you're together. You will know, you will feel if she's the right person. She's gonna lift you up or she's gonna put you down. And yeah, you will notice that in your relationship. So yeah, this was really interesting, Archer, to talk about this. But my final question for you is, and the question is, why should they quit pickup?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Why should they quit pickup? The reason that they should quit pickup is because what I think pickup is just
For to add, pickup is like pick up women. So PUA is to
yeah,
pick up women.
pickup artists, seduction
Exactly.
community.
Yeah.
I think the reason that guys should quit that is because essentially what pickup is it's just bringing the pornography world to real life, and trying to get perhaps women who might not generally be interested in that stuff to get them to participate in it as well. I think a lot of the red pill community will say that there is no such thing as good girls. The Garden of Eden, Eve was, tricked by Satan, right? Because women, again, they're more feeling creatures. It's probably easier to manipulate a woman than it is a man. But the reality is that the problem with game and pickup is that I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say that it's an it's an applied sex addiction. There's this concept that once fed, never satisfied, never fed, ever satisfied. This concept of, if you never have something, it's easier to move away from that thing, right? So if you cut something out of your life, again, there's this idea that 99% is really hard, 100% is easy, but 99% is hard. So it's like if you're saying, oh, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to quit drinking forever, and you go for 5 years without having one bit of alcohol, and then maybe you say to yourself, oh, I can have just one at a party, and you have one, and then one becomes like 10, and you're like, sloshed. Just like that's the concept. The problem with game and pickup is like it creates this, it creates and it also fosters this concept of promiscuity. The problem is that you have to shut off, like if you want to have a marriage, if you want to be in a committed relationship with a woman in the Western world, for the most part, you're going to have to cut out your extraneous affairs. I mean, I've heard some people say, oh, it's only adultery if you are having sex with a woman who's been married. So if you're a married guy and you're having sex with a woman who's never been married, then it's not adultery. I think that's pretty thin. I think the more a man can practice like controlling his sex force and using it instead of getting used by it, the easier it is for him to like step into a marriage and say, you know what? Yeah, we got this. And I think too, like if a man and a woman can say to each other, hey, we like each other, we're good friends, our friendship's growing, we seem to have this soul connection. Let's put off the sex until we decide that you know we want to make a commitment to each other in marriage. Like I think doing that creates more trust. It builds something. In the short term, it seems harder because you don't get to enjoy the fruits of the relationship, so to speak. But you are creating trust. You're showing the woman that, hey, I'm not controlled by my penis. So, if I have to take a job as a traveling salesman, or if I travel for business, or if I go to conventions, or if I'm in a professional environment where I interact with other women of all various types and forms, you can trust me because I have control over my sex force. I'm not going to just go dither it away with some smoking hot secretary or assistant or whatever intern. I think that's the reason, mainly why guys should like turn away from pickup. Like, I think there are, you know, I think it was Owen Cook, whatever,
Yeah.
the RSD dude. He spun, he's such a good marketer, such a, I won't make a judgment, but I'm not sure that the guy has much of a conscience. And that could literally be reality. I mean, he may not have a conscience, supposedly 5% of the population doesn't. They're called sociopaths. I think he popularized this idea that it's self-help. Like, it's good to work on your self-development and, work on game at the same time. But there's really something to be said to being able to get control of your sex force and say, hey, you know what? If I never get laid again in my life, yeah, I'll survive. It's all right. It's just one other thing, it's like one other sense pleasure, right? That I can say, hey, if I don't get it, fine. I think when you turn it on, like you turn on this power to go and churn through all these women, it becomes like a forest fire that you have to turn off. So I think if there's a guy that's listening right now that, maybe has had success with game, maybe he's, I don't know, got a 3-digit body count. Maybe he slept with over 150 women or something like that. There's hope for you. It's simple. You just turn it off. If you want to like get into a committed relationship with a woman and you haven't found one yet by going through all these other women doing game and pickup, you simply create a moat. You say, hey, I'm cutting all this out. And go for a year. Go for a year with no sex at all. Try to figure out who you are and what you really want from a relationship, and then go out and seductive abilities, but not this time to seduce, but actually go out and shop and find a woman that you want to spend the rest of your life with. That's the best. I think that's the best. If you want to have kids, you need to have them within the bounds of a marriage. Just knocking up chicks left and right, having women having these kids outside of wedlock, that's not good. I mean, the woman is in a state of fear because, oh, how, am I going to be taken care of? I don't. There's not a man around. I think even if she's getting financial benefit, maybe the guy says, yeah, I'll pay child support until the child's 18. There's still the physical part is gone. Like there's no dad around. So this child is brought up in a energetically anemic situation where, the child just has feminine energy. This is why in most cities, like in most prisons, the guys that are in prison, the number one connection that all these guys have is they probably never had or knew their father, or their father was abusive, or like there was a wound created in their life from not having a father around, or being born outside of wedlock and never knowing their father. And I'm sure many other people, your listeners have seen this too, guys that never had a father in their life and went down a path of crime because of it. So I feel like my work is super important because
Yeah.
I think that the better relationships that we can have, the better marriages that we can have, the better families we're going to have, the stronger our communities are going to be, the less crime there's going to be, the more trust there's going to be, and the stronger our countries will be as well. So yeah, I think it's super important.
Absolutely. I agree. It's really important to get a healthy relationship and understand yourself first, and then you can work together, and for her also to understand herself first, and then you can work together as one, and lift each other up instead of
Yeah.
pointing at each other and like, hey,
Right.
and looking on his phone if he's not cheating.
Right.
That's not how it works in a relationship. You have to build the trust with each other. So what Archie says, yeah, it's so important. That's why I'm so passionate. Like Archie is, you can hear it, you can how he talks about it, and you can really he can talk about it for hours and hours, and me too. So it's so important. That's why we're so passionate about doing this. And I want to say about the final words about pickup for me personally was once I did that, I was only going for the clothes. So getting the woman and sleep with her. And that was only what was in my mind. Getting her, sleeping with her, getting with her, sleeping with her. But the thing is, I was just feeding off my pain. I had so much emotional pain. I had so much traumas that I thought if I have sex with her, I feel good in the moment.
Right.
But then she leaves, and then I need another one. And then she leaves, and then you always need to feel that hunger, that void that's inside of you. You want to feel that or fill that up with women instead of filling that up with other activities like going to the gym or going to do some hobbies or playing the guitar or whatever. Women are more attracted to that if you have like purpose and you're not just focused on them because they see if you're a pickup boy. They're gonna see through your
Right.
mask, they're gonna see how you act. They can feel it if you're real or not. So that's why I asked Archer about this question, why you should leave the pickup community because it's toxic. It's not gonna bring you anything than pain because you're gonna feel stuck. And like what Archie says, yeah, you're gonna have moments that, yeah, you're gonna have success. You're gonna sleep with a lot of women, but where does it end? When is it enough? When do you feel fulfilled? Then when you have a girlfriend, but then you're suppressing it. You're suppressing the pain, the traumas that still is inside of you. So that's why I don't approve pickup. I've been there as well, and it brought me more anxiety. It brought me more stress because I was only getting the girl, getting the girl. I was constantly in my mind like, oh, I need to do this move. I need to do this line. I was in my head. I wasn't even here in the moment. I wasn't even aware of what I'm doing. And I missed so many opportunities of connecting with guys, connecting with girls, or other potential lovers or potential business partners. So that's why I emphasize so much on this to quit the pickup industry and start to like the show, the how to heart, start to act from the heart. And yeah, what Archie says that's so spot on. It's so important to get back to yourself and start operating from the heart and really also as a man to learn to feel, learn to trust your gut feeling. And also when you feel there's something wrong in a relationship, talk to her about it. And if it doesn't work out, take the responsibility to walk away. I had to do that by myself. And with Archer it was the other way around, but it's not the end. Sometimes we don't want to be alone because we feel we're gonna be alone for the rest of our lives, but it's not like that. It's gonna you're gonna learn a lot about yourself, and it's always gonna get better. So man, it was a lot to talk about, Archer. It was really
Yeah.
cool to have this chat with you and hear from you from your side. So yeah, I want to thank you for your time and being here and share your experience and everything. So thank you so much for that. So how can the listeners uh, follow you?
Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure, Vincent. It was great to chat with you.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I think probably the best way folks can reach out to me is, I am on Facebook, Archer Avelin. That's a great way if, guys are looking for some one-on-one help. My books are on Amazon as well if they want to check them out. But yeah, um, I think those are kind of the main ways.
Yeah, and for if you want to contact with Archie, he's a really cool guy. I struggled a lot in the beginning myself, and yeah, Archie has been a really nice help and also to push me through some obstacles. But eventually, I found my own way. But if you really resonate with Archer and what he's doing, definitely contact him and ask for his advice or help or one-on-one coaching because he's really cool and he really wants to help you from the bottom of his heart. So that's why I wanted to have this interview with him, and it was really cool to have him here. So Archie, thank you so much, and yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
Same here, Vincent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey Lions, thank you for listening. Glad to have you on our journey to the authentic self. Want to learn more to embrace your potential? I invite you to keep listening. Do me a favor and smash the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps the show reach more listeners who need to hear these messages. See you next time.